One of the many benefits of attending baseball games at Diethrick Park is you never know who you're likely to meet.
That you shouldn't live in the past. It's dangerous. But to visit it is just a wonderful experience.
This past year, we had the distinct pleasure of meeting Bill Monbouquette, who anchored the Red Sox pitching staff of the early 1960s.
He's the greatest hitter I ever saw. He's the greatest hitter I ever played with.
Left fielder Ted Williams carried a blazing bat and provided another hitting landmark. 1941, Ted Williams led the major leagues with a .406 batting average, and no one has hit over 400 since. In the All-Star game that season, Williams came up with 2 out in the bottom of the ninth, and the American League trailing by a run. Ted Williams hit the most dramatic homer in the history of the Summer Classic, winning the game. A fitting blow for the man who would also lead the majors in home runs.
In that lineup, I can always remember going to Baltimore or Washington, flying down, I'd say to Tom Dowd, I'd say, "Where's Ted? I don't see him on the plane. Is he already gone?" No, I shouldn't be telling you this, but he's gone to visit some kid in the hospital that, the parents wrote and asked or called or whatever. Maybe it was some kid that had cancer and was bad, and those are just a lot of the things that Ted did that he didn't want anybody to know, which I don't blame him. I'd probably do the same thing. But he was wonderful to play with. I mean, he was great to me. Not many guys can say that they fished up at his place, up in the Miramichi River in New Brunswick, and stayed at his place and all, and watched him tie flies and get on him and needle him a little bit and say, I think you missed one there, and and then we had a friend of ours. And I was living in New Hampshire, and I said to him one time, I need for you to bring your dogs down because I got a lot of raccoons and they're in my garden and everything else. And at night he'd come down with the dogs, and I had his flashlights and everything else. But he used to, and he's a fellow that came from Greece, and he'd cook up the lamb, and it was just some of the most delicious lamb I've ever had in my life. And Ted had some one time, and him and Ted became very close friends, and so we went, his name is Gilly Garrelson, we went with him up to Ted's place. And so, Ted always just liked to rag on all the guys and everything else, and I said, Gilly, we'll take care of him. And so I get a little closer to him, and I called Gilly over. I said, hey, I'm telling you right now, I think he's mad, because you forgot the meat. You didn't bring the lamb. Oh, is he going to be mad? And I'm making sure Ted's hearing me, and he's talking, and all of a sudden, it's that big turnaround. You forgot the meat, and he started, and we get him going. But it was great fun. I mean, he treated you like you were a king, and like you were a son or a brother. And every morning he'd step out on his cabin and he'd give us the big toot toot, and it was time for breakfast. But considered by lots of people to be one of the top fly fishermen, and I fly fish, but I'm not like him or anything else. But I remember in the clubhouse, he'd have his fly rod, and he'd have a little rubber lure, and you would be able to open your pocket of your uniform, and he'd flip it right in there from 30, 40 feet away.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, fly fishing is tough. And Ted could do a lot of things. I mean, think about the Korean War and was flying jets. You know, basically that's for guys that went to college and took probably calculus and everything else. I know my son is a pilot, was a Navy pilot, and he flies for American Airlines. But that was a you know, that's impressive.
You bet.
Well, Ted has always had that charisma. He can draw a crowd quicker than anybody, and I can remember, you know, the Hilton Hotel in Cleveland on the main avenue at lunchtime, sitting around in the lobby and talking about baseball, and you know, Ted had that booming voice. And people going by, and you know, and the door would be open, and they'd look in, and they'd say, what's all that in there? So he said, well, that's Ted Williams, and they're talking about hitting and pitching and everything else. And then people would come in off the street to listen to him. Yeah, he was a fantastic guy, and it was a pleasure. I mean, not many people can say they played with Mays, they played with Manlin, and they played with K-Line, and they played with Yastrzemski and Williams. When I tell guys home runs, I'm an authority on those. I mean, I gave up 221 of them. I think that says I'm an authority. But remember down at in 88, I was coaching for the Blue Jays in Myrtle Beach. I think I gave up like over 4,000 of them. I mean, it was a small park, you know. That's what batting practice for. It's right there. And even when I was like a coach with the Mets in 82 and 83, Kingman used to say, especially when we went into Wrigley Field, he said, how about landing right there? Because he didn't want to hit it on top of those buildings. He wanted to hit it over those, you know, in Chicago, because that's where he played there. And
Who hit the longest home run off you?
The longest home run was Leon Get Your Rags from Daddy Wag's
Wagner.
And he wore me out. And I must have been tipping my pitches or something, because we were playing in Dodger Stadium, and he hit it. It was like 370 to the fence there, and then there was the bullpen, and that bullpen probably ran another 130, 40 feet out, and there was a palm tree right there at the parking lot, and when it landed in that tree, a covey of quail come flying out of there. That is the longest one. I remember Radish, he always tells the story. And he says, you know, when we looked up and we saw that ball going past us, and then we see it land in the tree, he said, we couldn't believe it. But he also tells the story about when Earl and I were going to pitch. He said, we used to call the Mass Turnpike Authority and ask them to close down not the eastbound lane, but the westbound lane from 2 to 6, okay? But, you know, joking around. But, I did get a chance, though, to go upstairs in the 600 Club and look. Now you can see over that fence, you could see on the Mass Turnpike, and I'm saying, oh wow, that's where some of those balls went then, huh? Yeah, in fact, I think I caused a 5-car collision on that westbound lane at one time, but I love it. It's been great.
Boston Red Sox pitcher Bill Monbouquette.
When I pitched against the Yankees at Fenway especially, I used to just watch batting practice.
And here comes Richardson. He hits line drives all over the plate. And then Tony Kubek hits the ball the other way. And then the bombers were coming.
Oh, my God. Couldn't believe you could hit balls that far, and it was easy. I'd watch Al Forrester, groundskeeper, go up the ladder on the wall with 4 or 5 buckets and come down with all of them full. Now, you knew how many balls that were in there, probably 150 balls. And when we finished batting practice, we only had 1 bucket. 9 balls in there. Think about it. How am I going to pitch to these guys? Next thing you know, Scarron's taking some ground balls. He said, you going to hang me any curveballs today or something, you know?